1300 WIMG and WPHY Channel 25 proudly presents today's topic on Trenton Talks. Today's topic is a program that discusses the topics that are important to you. And now, today's topic.
Good evening and welcome to today's topic, which is a program in the on Trenton Talks. And just like last week, I'll make sure that I get this figured out. I'm Jacque Howard. I'm your host. You're listening to WIMG 1300 on the AM dial, and you are watching via WPHY New York, Channel 25, which serves Mercer County. Today, we will be interviewing a friend of mine, Karey Maurice, who is an internationally known artist with solid roots in the Ewing, Trenton area, but also in the Princeton area. But before we get started, tonight's programming for the next 60 minutes is going to be focusing on art. Mainly, some people may say contemporary art. Some people may say art as a way to regenerate cultures and societies in post-industrial cities. The two guests that I'm going to have their pulse on contemporary art, and they're very successful, very driven, and they got a very passionate message they want to share. So with that, Karey Maurice, welcome to today's topic.
How are you doing, Jacque?
I'm doing
so
well.
Happy to be here.
Excellent, sir. Now, Karey, just tell the listening and viewing audience a little bit about your history, where you grew up, and what brought you to Trenton.
Well, sure. I grew up in a neighborhood in Ewing Township called Dog Patch. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but the post office certainly was, because we had a neighborhood that was basically filled with dogs, and I lived near a landfill, so it's a pretty ideal place to drop your dog off. You didn't want him anymore, and he'd end up in our neighborhood. We had people that would come through that would be terrified just to walk through the streets because of either owners having so many dogs or just loose packs running around. So that's where my neighborhood got the name Dog Patch, New Jersey, and it's just right around near the reservoir.
Okay, so Karey, that area is, if for those who don't know specifically, it's borders with Prospect Street and Olden, as well as Pennington.
Yes, and Parkway Avenue,
yes,
too.
Yes, okay, that's
near
right.
the old, used to be the Westinghouse warehouse facility.
Okay, great. So what brought you to Trenton?
Well, I was born here, 1963, at Mercer Hospital, so I've been here all my life. I'm not a transplant by any means. I've been here all my life. There are a lot of streets, street corners, alleyways that I know that most people wouldn't dream of even walking down, but I pretty much know Trenton very well and beyond.
All right, and the reason why I have you on this program, for those of you who don't know, you probably do know Karey Maurice's work, but you may not know him personally, and that's why we have him here tonight for this interview. Well, Karey, talk a little bit about your craft. Briefly, what got you interested in art?
Well, what initially got me interested in art was my father's business, which was called K&E Reprographics, D&W Blueprint before that, on Olden Avenue where the Boston Market exists right now. So I basically played in a reprographics facility which made blueprints, black and white prints, enlargements, even microfilm. So my greatest story I could tell is that I used to play in dark rooms and hang out inside the camera area and play actually inside the bellows because the cameras were so large. So I seen a lot of newspaper print, a lot of ads and things like that run through, a lot of architectural drawings and things. So that pretty much set the stage for my creative interests.
Mm-hmm. And your creative interests then morphed into?
I've become a neo-pop artist is what I'm titled, and it's only because I'm associated with a lot of artists during the 1980s in New York City. Some of them no longer living, but one of the most profound was Keith Haring, and he actually embraced me in 1987, and I was friends with the gentleman all the way up into the last 3 years of his life when he died of AIDS complications.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those in the listening audience, you may not, the name Keith Haring, it may not be recognizable to everyone in the listening/viewing audience, but when you think about Andy Warhol, Keith Haring was a contemporary
Absolutely.
of Andy Warhol?
Absolutely he was, you know, and they were actually friends.
And Keith Haring really gained very widespread notoriety, I guess, in the late 80s, early 90s.
I would say early 80s, based on his chalk drawings being seen all over the subways of New York City. He was kind of notorious for doing that, and was arrested several times for doing such a thing, but he really gained notoriety to bringing his art to the streets, bringing it to the people. So he basically, I would say, pretty much spearheaded this whole street art movement that you see around now.
So you described your craft and your art as neo-pop. For the listening audience who really doesn't understand what that is, could you kind of elaborate, maybe give them a verbal description of what that would be?
Sure. Well, neo means just new. Pop would be popular in terms of popular culture. So my work really addresses popular culture, whether it be religion, whether it be political. It also can be social. But it's really popular imagery, popular subjects, popular people even at times. So again, the word is really self-explanatory by saying pop. I mean, we live in a pop culture right now, and we live in a culture of information. So that's also coming into play, and it's being used in the pop art genre.
Now, how long have you said you met Keith Haring back in 1987, so approximately how long have you been creating art? Probably besides all of your life, but I mean specifically, how long would you say that you've been working on your craft?
I'd say professionally for 25 years. My first show was in 1989 in New York City, and also I did show at Artworks when it was founded here in Trenton in 1989 as well. So I would pretty much say 1989 was the launch of a professional career. However, I've always been a creative individual since birth, really.
So I've been fortunate enough to spend a good deal of time with Karey Maurice today, just getting to know him on a personal level. We met several years ago when you had one of your studios in the Conduit building on Broad Street. Can you talk a little bit about that whole movement and your part with that?
No, I'd be glad to. I was solicited by Roland Pott, John Henderson and David Hatch, and I was approached at the time when I was promoting a social party at Joe's Mill Hill called Acid Jazz, which was very successful. At that point, Roland approached me and told me he had a project in mind that he wanted to create an incubator of a creative source, artists, musicians, what have you, but his idea and vision was to make this particular building a warehouse of creative energy, as well as a nightclub, and again a restaurant adjacent to that. So I was one of the first that was invited to actually go into this building and create a studio, which I did, and it became the Red Balloon Studio. And that name still remains today with the studio I have now that is now recently moved to Princeton.
Okay, fantastic. So this is in the public interest, or today's topic. Again, I said I'm going to get that right eventually, and this is part of the Trenton Talks series. My name is Jacque Howard. I'm your host. You're listening to WIMG 1300 AM, and you're watching on television via WPHNY New York, which is Channel 25 in Mercer County, New Jersey. And I'm speaking with Karey Maurice Counts, who is a local, internationally known artist. Karey, what's the easiest way for people to see your work? Because the tough thing about being on radio is that people can't really see the magnitude of what you do, what you create.
Well, right now I've got an exhibition on view at the Trenton Social. It's one of the hottest spots in Trenton right now. And that, again, is an old stomping ground for me because 10 years ago, that's where I had my studio, ate my meals, and did my whole entire social life there for at least 10 years. So this show is called Cross Your Heart. It is on view to February 28th, and it is to support the Red Cross Hurricane Disaster Relief Fund, which I've dedicated my life to, and I'm going to offer 5% of all sales going towards the disaster relief fund to aid in the help of what happened during Hurricane Sandy.
Fantastic. Now, do you have a telephone number or a web address that people can go to view your art as well?
Yes. My website would be www.redcrosshq.org. redballoonstudio.com. From there, there's links available where you could just have fun and look at other works of art. You can purchase works of art online. I've got an online fashion business that's been in existence for about 10 years now, so you can also buy, some personal wares that I produce as well. So there is no phone number, but if you need to see the show itself, you could reach the Trenton Social at 989-7777.
Fantastic. Thank you for giving that information. I was going to say that as well. Shout out to TC and the crew over there.
Absolutely.
So that telephone number is 609-989-7777. And if you really want to be mesmerized by what Karey Maurice Counts is doing and has done for the last 25 plus years, as far as the art goes, you can go to redballoonstudio.com. But what I would say, and I use this as some research for myself, is just Google him. Karey with a K, K-A-R-E-Y, Maurice, traditional spelling, Counts, C-O-U-N-T-S. And you will be shocked at the level of work, the professionalism, the pulse of the neo-pop culture that Karey Maurice has.
Right
but
on.
in addition to that, for the folks who are like celebrity chasers, he's got some work, and he's worked with some pretty major folks in the last 25 plus years or so. So again, his contact information for the physical Red Cross relief
Relief Fund Exhibition, we'll call it.
That's what we'll call it. The Relief Fund Exhibition through the Red Cross is at the Trenton Social on Broad Street across from the arena, 989-7777. But you can also see Karey Maurice's information on the website at redballoonstudio.com. But I would say just go ahead and Google him. That's Karey with a K, Counts spelled just like Count Dracula with an S. So Karey, we've got approximately 3 minutes left before we go into a break. You shared a little bit about your history. You're a local guy, grew up in Ewing in the Dog Patch area. I'm from Ewing as well. Shout out to the Blue Devils. I know that area.
Ewing.
So as you transitioned on, in the next, we'll get into it more in the second half of the program. But what brought you to meet Keith Haring or transition to New York?
Well, I started hanging out in New York City probably 1978, 79. I'll say fortunately and unfortunately, I spent a lot of college years in New York City in discotheques and nightclubs, and that's where the art was at the time. So that's really what attracted me to New York City. And I was reading a lot about this so-called new art scene that was accepting a lot of young artists, such as myself, and they were only just a few years older, so I felt that I wanted to be a part of that movement. So I pretty much took myself into New York City and experienced all of the wonderful things that transpired, which we now call the 80s art boom.
That's fantastic. And shortly we're going to get into more information about what Karey Maurice Counts has done, is going to do, and his vision for the post-industrial city of Trenton, New Jersey, that, as you know, and I've been bringing it to you for quite some time now, it's got this organic growth of an arts culture and art scene here that ranges from performing arts to the visual arts as well. And one of those people, and I'll say this, I mean, I think that you're not old enough to be the grandfather, but I think that
I am a grandfather.
There you go. You are part of this is like your baby. This is like your grandchild. You were part of that. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in the second half. But you're listening to the program called Today's Topic on Trenton Talks. And again, I'm going to get this right. I promise you that. It's Today's Topic on Trenton Talks. You're listening on WIMG 1300 AM. I'm your host, Jacque Howard, and you're watching over WPHY, Channel 25 in Mercer County, New Jersey. We'll see you just after the break.
Are you an inventor? Or do you know an inventor who would like to attempt to have an invention or idea patented and submitted to industry? InventHelp, America's #1 invention company, has inventors' information you can have free. Record your invention's date of origination, plus get an informative brochure and other material of interest to new inventors from the company whose patent referral services have helped secure more than 7,000 patents. Call now, 800-619-2181. That's 800-619-2181. Even if you only have an idea for improving an existing product and don't know where to go with it, you'll want this free inventor's information. It shows how InventHelp may assist you in trying to patent your invention and submit it to industry. It's a free call, so call now. 800-619-2181. 800-619-2181. That's 800-619-2181.
And welcome back to today's topic. I am your host, Jacque Howard, and you are listening to WIMG 1300 AM, and you're watching over WPHY, Channel 25 in Mercer County, and over the internet. We're located on WIMG1300AM.com. And we now have my second guest in, and his name is Anthony Fearron. So we're going to move really quickly in the second half because we're going to do this whole collaboration thing. I got my two artist friends on here, so we're going to talk about that briefly as well. Anthony, welcome to the program, and can you tell us a little bit about your history and what brought you to Trenton?
Okay, my name's Anthony Fearron. What brought me to Trenton, I'm originally from Long Island, born and raised. Went to Deer Park High. Teacher that was really instrumental, his name was Mr. Wayne Houston. What got me into art was I was 10 years old. I went to the Natural History Museum and fell in love with a Jackson Pollock. Not only that, I was able to see the Leonardo da Vinci Pia, and I was able to touch Jesus' feet. So that changed me in a whole new way. And then when I came to Trenton, a friend suggested when I moved to Trenton. And the first place I moved to was Mill Hill. And things started rolling. I started hanging out with people and stuff like that. I hung out with the TerraCycle crew, Tom Saki of TerraCycle. That's when I started painting at Princeton University with Rascal of Rascal Art, Higgins Art International. And then I was hanging out with Karey Maurice, who really encouraged me, along with Leon Rainbow, to get out of my scrapbook. I used to sketch in the scrapbook, and Leon just grabbed the book and said, "Why don't you paint?" I was furious when he grabbed that book. I'll never forget that. Still furious over that. And ever since then, I just started painting a little bit. But what really happened was I lost a job in 2003. Helped build a company and just lost it. And I remember listening and hearing Adam Clayton Powell say, "What's in your hand?" And I started just feverishly just drawing. I couldn't stop. I'm self-taught. Then I started painting. And then one thing led to another, and I was hiding paintings in upstairs in Mill Hill, and my friend came by and must have had about 30 paintings. He's like, what the hell are you doing? Then Larry Hilton came, and he explained to me what I was doing, and one thing led to another. I just gotten better and better.
Fantastic. And I will testify that Anthony and Maurice Counts, both of their work is dynamic. They're opposite ends of the spectrum in intensity, but they are out of this world. And if you're an original art lover, and Karey Maurice and I had a conversation about this just shortly, it's time to start refocusing some of your time and energy and your dollars on the industry of art. Art is a business. So instead of going out and rushing to buy a brand new vase or something like that is mass produced, right here locally, you can get something that is more than likely going to increase in value, but besides that, it's a one of a kind. It's an absolute original. Before we start getting into some conversation about like the both of you together, because you've known each other much longer than I've known either one of you, can you just share contact information, Anthony, so that if people want to see more of your work or get in contact with you?
I can be reached at www.storydtv.com, and you'll see Fearron art there.
And Fearron is spelled?
Fearron, arts, TS.
Okay, so it's storyhdtv.com, and then you would search for Fearron Arts, Fearron Arts, and for Karey Maurice Counts, it's redballoonstudio.com. That's all traditional spelling, and currently Karey Maurice Counts has a show at the Trenton Social, located on Broad Street in Trenton, and the telephone number there for details, hours, etc. is 609-989-7777. So the two of you here together, it's almost like I'm going to say it's divine. I wasn't expecting. Yeah, I say that because I wasn't expecting to interview you both together, one, or right now, but the way things work out, you both have clicked. We got three men here who are soft-spoken, even though I speak louder than you guys, with glasses, and we're talking about something. That's right, and we're talking about something that we truly love. So, tell me a little bit about Maurice. You start first, and talk about how you guys met, and and so on and so forth.
Well,
and watch yourself on the camera there. There you go.
Sorry about that, everyone. Excuse me. The first time I ever saw Anthony Fearron, he was part of a DJ troupe, I would say. And they were hosting parties at McGuinn's. They were on Route 1. Shout out to McGuinn's. I hope these guys are still in there, hanging in there. It was a very nice venue. But I discovered Anthony on the dance floor, believe it or not. And I watched him and watched him and watched him. And then all of a sudden he knew mutual people that I did that were hosting the party. And he walks up to me, and we had a brief conversation, and he says to me, "We're going to be best friends." I just know it. We're going to be friends. My initial instinct to first meeting someone is pretty much, I'm going to sit back a little bit and see what you say first before you make those type of statements. It was a very bold one, and it did make me a little nervous initially. But over time, as I saw Anthony in Cafe Olay, doing this phenomenal drawings in this book, I was amazed by it, and I was quite interested to see what he could do with these drawings and to take that medium and move into another to see if he could translate what he was doing. And what I felt Anthony was doing is he is totally creating music visually for you to see. That's what I enjoyed.
And I'm gonna interject there because I've met Anthony. Probably, I guess it's been about a year ago, but we've had some communications and kind of phone tag and email tag over the last 6 months. But I've had an opportunity to spend some time with you in one-on-one in your studio, looking at your work, watching you work, and energy is what comes to mind. Yes. It's lots of depth. It's a multi-dimensional. Yes. There's a lot happening there. I mean, Karey Maurice, we spoke, and his style is neo-pop. Yours, how would you interpret what your style is?
I would say suprematism. It's just pure raw energy just coming out. There's things that are tapping me that are just unknown, and it just flows out. I'm truly blessed because when I start on a painting, I have no idea where I'm going to go. And that's the journey that I love about it. It's the finished process that just really just takes me to another orbit,
And what he means by suprematism is not the suprematism we know from Ku Klux Klan and all that. What Anthony means by suprematism is it's a supreme feeling. It's trying to reach an ultimate expression. That's what suprematism meant back in the early hundreds is when Kandinsky and all of these other Malevich paintings, they were Russian, and the constructivists and the futurists, the Italian futurists, were trying to reach was this suprematist type of an expression, which was free-flowing, free-form, and almost non-objective at times.
Right. So that's... And it's interesting that you jumped in there, Karey, because I get this very, very strong feeling of like brothers.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say who's old or anything,
right.
but I'm saying it's like big brother in the arts.
Right.
Helping out. Hey, try it this way. Let me show you this. Pushing you, and iron sharpeneth iron.
Right.
You know what I mean? Until you develop that relationship, and I can tell
he's been a tremendous help.
And I can tell he enjoys seeing the product of you develop. So talk a little bit about that.
My developing is it's untapped. I keep pouring out. Every time I keep doing something, I come up with something new, and I'm kind of fascinated about who I am. I really want to be able to push the envelope to see how far I can take this, how far I can really venture off, not only into my own mind, but my art represents the busyness of life around us. We are so busy and conditioned with so many things and objects that we really don't see what's really in front of us. That's what my art is basically about.
Circuits and wires.
Right, circuits and wires, and speaking to the humanity.
The guts of the computer, I would say, just the hard wiring of what a human being really experiences. If you could actually express how blood flows through veins and how nerve pulses work, with my particular situation, I totally feel a lot more. So, even on view of his work, I know exactly where it's coming from. You mentioned energy earlier.
That's what it is. It's
and
energy.
It's energy. It's really electric energy flowing through the system, whether it be mechanical or human. But this is what Anthony does.
Right. Or even cosmic, It's raising the consciousness of not only my own humanity, but humanity around me. Life is hard. Life is hard. And
I want to stop because I do want to get to some more information. But I can tell you, folks, the other day when I was in the studio looking at some of Anthony's work, it was quite emotional. I mean, I almost got a little teary-eyed, like from what I felt and from what I saw in the art. But we've got about 3 minutes left in the program. But I absolutely will have both of you guys back on very shortly. But I do want to have you guys just both answer these questions rather quickly. How do you each feel about youth engagement in the arts?
Well, I could address that, and it needs to start at an educational level, point blank. If children are exposed to arts, and the arts that are actually nourishing your soul, nourishing the body, nourishing your community, it's going to make a better individual all around. The education that's being taught, again, is trip to the museum and seeing relics and things like that. But when you look at contemporary art, you have to have some type of applique to it. And I think that's what's missing, is that the youth has to apply and be applied to the contemporary art world and know that a living can be had by such an endeavor. You always hear doctor, lawyer, all these engineer, but you never hear artist, dancer, painter,
singer,
and now DJ. I mean, all of these things now are viable careers. And again, art is a business. Good. It's not all show.
All right. Anthony, do you agree with that almost
I
wholeheartedly?
agree with that because I'm a DJ too, also. I used to spin on WRSU 88.7, and I'm futuristic, so I'm known for what I do.
All right, well, here I want to give you the next question, and then we'll close out with Karey Maurice adding his bit to that. How would you suggest for someone to get started in the arts, in the craft?